It is 6:30 a.m.
Ooh, the dreaded hour.
Right. The alarm just blares, and your bare feet hit those freezing cold bathroom tiles.
Oh, I could feel that.
It's visceral, right. And before you even smell the stale coffee that's just sitting in the pot from yesterday, you let out this heavy sigh.
Yeah.
You know exactly how today is going to go.
Yeah, you've memorized the script.
Exactly. The same deadlocked traffic, the same passive-aggressive emails from that one coworker, the same low-grade exhaustion. But what if that crushing predictability isn't just a rut?
But if it's a choice, right?
Yeah. What if it is a script that you are actively writing and completely capable of throwing in the trash? So today we are doing a close look into a massive framework hitting within some deeply fascinating personal development documents.
It's a really profound set of materials.
It really is. We're going to explore how we unknowingly author our daily realities and, more importantly, how we can change the script by altering our absolute deepest internal signals.
Because the assumption we make in that 6:30 a.m. moment is that this is simply, well, it's just the reality of adulthood.
Right, like this is just what growing up is.
Exactly. We assume the fatigue and the friction are just the admission price for living.
Hmm.
But the core theme of the materials we're analyzing today flips that entirely on its head.
Which I love.
It suggests that your life is playing out like a rigidly directed movie scene.
Hmm.
And it's taking place on a very specific floor of a massive, infinite office building.
An infinite office building. I really want to spend a lot of time on that concept in a minute.
It's a great analogy.
But first, let's look at the friction itself, because it is incredibly visceral. The weirdest part about that morning loop is how we just we get used to it.
We acclimatize to the pain.
Yeah. It is like putting on a pair of shoes that are perfectly, seamlessly molded to the exact shape of your feet, but they give you terrible blisters on your heels every single day.
Oh, man, yeah.
You put them on anyway. You know precisely how the day is going to feel before you even walk out the front door.
And people aren't entirely passive about those blisters. I mean, they recognize they are unhappy.
Right.
They feel the pain of the friction. The confusion really begins when they try to fix it using the wrong tools.
That is the trap of the hustle, isn't it? Like you realize you hate the shoes, you recognize the blister, so you try to force a change.
You just work harder.
Exactly. You think, I just need to hustle more. You put in 80-hour weeks, you argue with your circumstances, you try to rearrange the furniture of your life.
The geographical cure.
The classic geographical cure. You change jobs, you move to a new city, maybe you buy a new car, end a relationship. But somehow, 6 months later,
You're right back where you started.
you wake up with that exact same heavy sigh. The external circumstances look a little different. The city skyline outside your window has changed, but the internal feeling, it snaps back like a thick rubber band.
It snaps back because you are trying to solve an internal frequency problem with an external geographical solution. The documents identify this exact state of being.
Hmm.
They refer to it as the to-me level of consciousness.
The to-me state.
It is fundamentally victim consciousness. In this state, the operating belief system is that life happens to you.
Right. You're just at the mercy of it all.
You are at the absolute mercy of external forces. If you are struggling financially, it's the economy's fault. If you're stressed, well, it's your boss's fault.
Or your partner's fault, or the government's fault.
Exactly. You are a passive recipient of circumstances. And historically speaking, the text suggests that a massive percentage of humanity, somewhere around 80 to 85%, spends their entire lives operating from this profoundly disempowered frequency.
85%. That is a staggering majority of the human population just walking around feeling like things are being done to them.
It's the default human condition for most.
But let's ground this, because I want to push back a little on the word victim, because I think it makes people defensive. Let's say I am driving to work. The traffic is completely deadlocked. I am going to be late for a massive presentation that dictates my quarterly bonus. I reach for my travel mug, the lid pops off, and I spill scalding hot coffee all over my crisp white shirt.
A nightmare scenario.
It's the worst. So am I really playing the victim if I get furious in that moment? Isn't complaining just a rational, biological human reaction to an objectively terrible situation?
Well, it is entirely human to feel the physical sting of the hot coffee, right? And the cortisol spike of looking at the clock.
Yeah.
The physiological reaction is not the issue.
Okay.
The issue is the psychological real estate you hand over to the event afterward. Which brings us back to that infinite office building analogy we mentioned.
Yes, let's get into the building.
So imagine a skyscraper with infinite floors, where every floor represents a different frequency or genre of life. Let's say floor 2 is the drama and fear floor.
Floor 2.
Got it. The director of this floor has exactly one job description: to produce a high-conflict, stress-inducing drama. They aren't evil. They're just fulfilling the architectural purpose of that specific floor.
So in the coffee spill scenario, my reaction dictates whether I am setting up camp on floor 2.
Yes. When you are operating in the to-me state on floor 2, your reaction isn't just a brief, passing moment of frustration.
It becomes your whole identity for the day.
Precisely. You turn to the director of floor 2 and you start screaming at them. You demand they rewrite the script to make the traffic disappear and the coffee stain vanish.
Right. You're arguing with reality.
You complain to the other actors, you text your friends, you vent to your coworkers about how unfair the script is and how you always have the worst luck.
Why does this always happen to me?
Exactly. But screaming at the director of the drama floor to write a peaceful, abundant scene is completely useless. The director can only write what the floor dictates. Complaining changes absolutely nothing about the architecture of the building.
Because the floor is literally designed to produce drama. It is like walking onto a horror movie set and being furious that someone is turning off the lights and playing creepy music.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
You are on the horror set. What did you expect?
The golden rule introduced here is choose, don't change.
Choose, don't change.
You cannot change the fundamental nature of the floor you are currently standing on. The energy you expend trying to rearrange the props on floor 2 or arguing with the director of floor 2 is entirely wasted.
So what do you do?
Your only real power is to stop complaining, turn around, walk to the elevator, and choose to press the button for floor 5, the abundance floor, or floor 6, the joy floor.
I appreciate the clarity of that, but it immediately begs a massive question. How do you actually press that elevator button?
Right, the mechanics of it.
Yeah, and this is where the material gets incredibly provocative. They talk about a biological mechanism behind this shift, specifically the idea of the DNA broadcaster.
This is where a lot of people get stuck.
I have to be honest, reading that initially set off my pseudoscience alarm. We are taught in middle school biology that DNA is a locked vault. It's a rigid, untouchable blueprint set in stone at conception.
It's the old paradigm of biology.
Are these documents speaking metaphorically, or are they claiming my bad mood in traffic is literally mutating my genome? Because biologically, that feels like a massive leap.
Your skepticism is entirely warranted. The language used in personal development can sometimes drift into the mystical, but if we strip away the metaphorical phrasing, the core concept aligns strikingly well with the established science of epigenetics.
Okay, let's unpack the epigenetics then, because if there is a grounded mechanism here, I want to understand it.
So epigenetics is the study of how your behaviors and environment can cause changes that affect the way your genes work.
Okay.
Unlike genetic changes, epigenetic changes are reversible and do not change your DNA sequence, but they change how your body reads a DNA sequence.
Like reading a book differently.
Sort of. Think of your DNA as a massive, complex soundboard with tens of thousands of switches and sliders.
Okay, I can picture that. A big studio soundboard.
The board itself, the hardware, does not change. But the sliders can be moved up or down, turning the expression of certain genes on or off.
And what moves the sliders?
The chemical environment of your cells. And what determines the chemical environment of your cells? The cocktail of hormones and neurotransmitters your brain releases based on your perception of the world.
So it's a direct loop.
Yes. If you are constantly in the to-me state, perceiving the world as a hostile place full of traffic jams and unfair bosses, your brain is constantly pumping cortisol and adrenaline into your system.
Which feels terrible.
It does. And this chronic stress chemistry physically alters the epigenetic sliders. It turns off genes related to immune function and cellular repair, and turns on genes related to inflammation and survival.
Wow, so my thoughts are literally creating the chemical bath that my DNA is swimming in.
Yes, and consider the sheer volume of cognitive activity driving this process. The average person processes roughly 60,000 to 80,000 individual thoughts every single day.
Which is a chaotic amount of mental traffic.
It is. But the most vital and perhaps terrifying piece of data is this. Roughly 95% of those thoughts are the exact same thoughts you had yesterday.
95%.
And the day before that. Every single one of those tens of thousands of repetitive thoughts reinforces a specific neural pathway.
Which in turn reinforces a specific chemical release.
Exactly. Which in turn locks those epigenetic sliders into place. Individually, a passing thought might seem weak. But because you are repeating the same 95% daily, The biological impact compounds exponentially.
If you are stuck, waking up to the alarm, sighing at the coffee, dreading the inbox, your thoughts are locked in a loop of limitation.
You're broadcasting that limitation.
And your body is physically manifesting that limitation at a cellular level. It makes me think of an old analog car radio.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Think about twisting the dial on one of those older stereos. The dial is a little rusted. There's actual physical resistance when you try to turn it.
You really have to grip it.
Right now, your dial is stuck on 101.1 FM, and 101.1 is just heavy, aggressive static. It is noise, complaints, drama, and cortisol. You desperately want to hear the smooth, calming music playing over on 105.5 FM.
But it's so far down the dial.
And no one is going to climb into the passenger seat and turn that rusted dial for you. You can sit there and complain about the static all day long, but until you physically reach out, apply pressure, and push past the rust to turn the dial, you are only going to hear static.
And pushing past that rust requires immense intentional effort. This explains why simply trying to think positive for an afternoon often feels impossible and rarely works.
Right, because you haven't turned the dial far enough.
It's not a moral failing or a lack of willpower. It is a matter of neurological architecture. The material introduces a brilliant analogy here to explain this intense physical and mental resistance. The neural jungle.
The jungle path. Because when people hear change your thoughts, they assume it is as easy as changing a shirt.
They do.
They try affirming wealth or happiness for a few hours. They get mentally exhausted. They look at their bank account and they say, well, that didn't work. This is a scam.
They say that because they are vastly underestimating the terrain of their own brain. Your old, negative habits, that 95% repetitive thought loop that is not just a habit.
What is it then?
Neurologically speaking, it is a massive, smoothly paved, 8-lane superhighway running right through the center of a dense jungle. Your brain is an organ optimized for efficiency.
It wants to conserve energy.
It consumes a massive amount of calories, so it will always default to the path of least resistance. And right now, the path of least resistance is that incredibly well-maintained highway of negativity, victimhood, and drama.
The neurons that fire together, wire together.
Precisely. That is Hebb's postulate. The more you drive on that highway, the thicker the myelin sheath gets around those neurons, making the signal travel faster and more effortlessly.
So when you wake up one morning and decide, today, I am going to think abundantly. I am going to be on floor 5.
You are not just driving your car onto a new nice road. There is no road.
Right. You are standing at the edge of incredibly dense, thick, overgrown jungle foliage.
Just a wall of green.
You have a dull machete in your hand, and you have to start hacking through thick vines, moving heavy branches out of the way, stepping over roots.
It is physically and mentally exhausting.
It's the cognitive equivalent of walking into a gym on your very first day and trying to bench press your own body weight. Your muscles, or in this case, your synaptic connections, just are not conditioned for it yet.
Haven't built up.
You take 2 swings with the machete, your arms burn, and the 8-lane superhighway of complaining is sitting right there looking so easy and comfortable.
It feels unnatural because it is unnatural at first. The synaptic connections for those new positive thoughts are incredibly weak. But the beauty of the jungle analogy is the promise of biological adaptation.
How so?
As you keep walking that new, difficult path, and you force yourself to keep swinging the machete day after day, the neuroplasticity of your brain responds. The jungle begins to clear.
The path gets a little wider.
The dirt gets packed down. The cognitive resistance drops.
And what happens to that old negative multi-lane highway? Does it just sit there tempting you forever?
This is the most encouraging part of the neurobiological process, known as synaptic pruning.
Pruning, like a garden.
Exactly. If you stop using that old highway, if you consciously refuse to drive down the route of the to-me state, starving it of electrical activity, your brain recognizes the inefficiency.
So it tears up the road.
Nature slowly begins to reclaim it. The creeping vines start to edge over the asphalt. Weeds break through the concrete.
Wow.
Over time, through sheer disuse, that massive highway of negativity is pruned away. It disappears entirely into the overgrowth. Your new path of abundance, which you hacked out of the jungle with a machete, becomes the new default superhighway.
I really appreciate how grounding that is. The idea that your brain is actively dismantling the old roads while you're building the new ones gives so much grace to the process. You do not have to be perfect on day one. You just have to keep swinging the machete.
And crucially, staying fiercely protective of where you were swinging it, which transitions us into the next major concept the documents explore: The absolute critical nature of focus.
Right. Our attention is our most valuable currency.
Where focus goes, energy flows.
It is a classic phrase, almost a cliche at this point, but the way they explain it here is so vivid. They use this analogy of an infinite art gallery.
Another great spatial metaphor.
Imagine your entire life is an art gallery with endless rooms and endless corridors. Every room has a different theme. You are currently standing in a room, dead center, staring intensely at a massive painting that you absolutely hate.
A really hideous piece of art.
The colors are jarring, the subject is depressing, the brush strokes are chaotic. So what do? You start yelling at the curator.
Naturally.
You complain loudly to anyone else in the room about how ugly the painting is. You analyze every single awful detail of the canvas. You take photos of it to send to your friends so they can see how ugly it is.
This highlights the great paradox of human attention. By giving that ugly painting your intense, unwavering focus, you are not destroying it.
You're not fixing it either.
No, you are actually expanding its presence in your reality. You're feeding it energy. Your sustained attention validates its existence in your space.
So the more you complain, the bigger it gets.
The more you analyze why you hate the painting, the larger the painting seems to grow until it takes up your entire field of vision.
Okay, let's play the skeptic again. Why does the painting grow? It is not magic. Staring at a physical canvas doesn't make it physically increase in size.
It is not magic. It is the reticular activating system, or the R.A.S.
Like R.A.S, okay.
Your brain is bombarded with roughly 11 million bits of sensory information every single second.
11 million!
But your conscious mind can only process about 40 to 50 bits per second.
That is a massive bottleneck. 11 million down to 50 bits.
It is a profound bottleneck. So your brain needs a filtering system to decide which 50 bits of information get through to your conscious awareness.
And that filter is the R.A.S.
Exactly. And how does the R.A.S. decide what is important? It looks at what you focus on. If you spend all your time focusing on how terrible your job is, how unfair the economy is, and how annoying your coworkers are, your R.A.S. programs itself to say, this person is highly interested in threats, unfairness, and annoyance.
It is literally an algorithm, like on your phone.
It acts identically to a social media algorithm. If you stop scrolling to stare at a video of a car crash, the algorithm does not care if you are staring at it because you are horrified or because you are interested.
It just registers the attention.
It says they want more car crashes, and suddenly your entire feed is flooded with disaster videos. Your brain's attention center does the exact same thing with the ugly painting.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
It filters out the opportunities, the kind people, the moments of peace, and it floods your conscious awareness with more evidence of the ugly painting.
So what is the solution in the art gallery? You cannot paint over it. You cannot burn it down.
You must do something that feels deeply counterintuitive to a mind that wants to problem solve and complain. You must simply turn your back.
Just look away.
You stop looking at the painting. You stop talking to the curator about it. You turn around, walk out of that room, and walk down the hall into a completely different room, one filled with art that inspires you, art that reflects the frequency of the floor you're trying to reach.
You have to choose a different input.
You must give more faith and more attention to your internal vision than to your current physical circumstances.
Give more faith to your internal vision than to your current physical circumstances. That is a massive ask.
It is.
Because physical reality, the bills, the physical pain, the annoying boss is incredibly loud. Which brings up this fascinating observation from the source material regarding highly influential people.
This part is so interesting.
The material points out that people who operate at very high levels of creation, people who are deeply attuned to shaping their reality, are ruthlessly protective of their environment.
Ruthless is the right word.
Specifically, they rigidly restrict what they consume mentally.
This raises an important question. Why? It is easy to assume this is just about productivity. We think, oh, they just want to save time, they want to be more efficient, they do not want to waste hours on a screen.
Right.
But the texts argue it is far deeper than time management. It is about protecting their cognitive bandwidth.
Because treating it like a time management issue kind of talks down to the audience. We all know doom scrolling is bad. A well-informed person doesn't need to be told that spending 4 hours on a toxic news app is a waste of time.
Exactly.
But the framework frames it differently. It talks about focus as a finite resource.
I like to think of it as focus calories. You only wake up with a certain amount of cognitive energy to burn each day.
Focus calories. I love that.
If they spend 500 focus calories engaging in manufactured social media outrage, or watching television that spikes their cortisol with fear-mongering narratives, they have 0 calories left for co-creation.
They are totally depleted.
They have no energy left to swing the machete in the neural jungle.
They are voluntarily walking back into the room with the ugly painting and staring at it.
Precisely. They are handing over their most powerful creative resource, their attention, to a frequency of fear or drama. They restrict this input not out of prudishness, but out of a profound understanding of environmental protection.
They're protecting their mental diet.
A mental diet.
We are so obsessed with our physical diets. We count macros, we look for organic labels, we avoid processed sugar, but we will happily consume the absolute worst, most processed, toxic junk food for our minds without a second thought.
That's so true.
But let's look at the reality of trying to change this diet. Let's say I realize my mental diet is terrible. I am sitting in the middle of a bad day. I am feeling awful. I am stressed about money.
You're in the thick of it.
Right. I cannot just forcefully, magically flip a switch and feel joyful. It feels entirely fake. Just smile and be happy. It feels like toxic positivity. And frankly, it just makes me angrier.
And it should make you angrier because forcing a massive emotional leap is neurologically jarring. It creates immense internal resistance.
So what's the alternative?
The texts recognize this limitation and introduce a highly practical tool called the ladder.
The ladder. This is about emotional granularity, isn't it?
Yes. The premise is that emotional states exist on a vertical continuum, ranging from deep despair at the bottom to unconditional love and joy at the top.
Okay, a ladder of emotions.
If you are standing at the very bottom of the ladder, deeply mired in fear, shame, or powerlessness, you cannot simply reach up and grab the rung 20 steps above you labeled joy.
Your arms are not that long.
Trying to reach it will only make you feel more inadequate and fake.
So what is the play? Do you just wallow at the bottom?
No, you move in degrees. You only need to reach for the very next rung that provides a sense of relief. You just aim to feel a fraction better.
Just a tiny bit better.
For example, if you are paralyzed by despair, perhaps the next accessible rung is anger.
Wait, reaching for anger is an upward movement?
Energetically, yes. Despair is paralyzing. It is a lack of motion. Anger, while still a lower frequency, has kinetic energy.
It has a fire to it.
It is forward momentum. It is a step up from powerlessness. From anger, you might reach for frustration. From frustration, perhaps boredom. From boredom, willingness.
You are slowly climbing.
You only ever have to bridge the gap to the very next rung.
So what does reaching for that next rung look like in practical sensory terms? If I'm frustrated, how do I move to neutral or willing?
It involves creating a highly personalized, easily accessible toolkit of sensory experiences that reliably shift your physiology just a fraction. It does not have to be a massive intervention.
It could be taking 5 minutes to step outside and feeling the actual physical sensation of the sun warming your face during a walk.
Exactly.
Focusing entirely on that temperature shift on your skin to interrupt the cortisol loop. Or putting on a specific upbeat song, not just background music, but a piece of music you actively listen to, feeling the heavy bass or the tempo physically shift your heart rate.
Sensory anchors.
Or, and this is a really interesting one mentioned in the material, reading a highly resonant book.
The reading aspect is crucial, and it goes beyond just learning new information. The material frames reading as a mechanism of energetic transference.
Energetic transference. That sounds a bit woo again. Let's ground it.
Let's ground it in the concept of mirror neurons. When you read a text written by someone operating at a much higher level of consciousness, you are not just absorbing their vocabulary.
What are you absorbing?
Your brain is actively mirroring the cognitive patterns and emotional state of the author. The concentrated attention you give to the book allows the frequency of the author's thoughts to temporarily calibrate your own.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is like plugging your mind into a higher power source. It is an incredibly efficient way to pull yourself up to the next rung on the ladder when you do not have the internal strength to do it yourself.
That makes total sense. You are borrowing their highly maintained superhighway until your own neural pathways are strong enough to maintain that speed.
Borrowing their focus.
Okay, so we're reaching at the ladder, we are pulling ourselves up, but what if it feels like someone is pulling back?
The resistance.
Think about floating in the ocean. Our natural state, according to this framework, is buoyant. We are naturally inclined to float upwards toward the surface, toward the sun, up toward what they call the through-me state.
Yes.
But for so many people, it feels like they are kicking as hard as they can, and they are barely keeping their heads above water. That friction, that exhausting downward pull, is the result of what the framework calls energetic anchors.
Heavy iron anchors tied around our ankles.
Exactly. These anchors are the unreleased emotional traumas, the deeply buried resentments, the shadow elements of our psyche that we have rigidly refused to look at.
The things we hide from ourselves.
We can try to swim upwards with all our might. We can repeat affirmations. We can listen to the upbeat music. We can manage our mental diet perfectly. But if we are dragging 100 pounds of unprocessed emotional iron, the ascent is going to be incredibly slow and intensely painful.
So you have to snip the anchors.
You must. And snipping the anchors involves engaging in shadow work and emotional release. It is the courageous act of turning around, acknowledging the heavy iron chain, and deliberately doing the internal work to process and release that trapped energy.
It's facing the ugly stuff.
Often this requires looking at the exact things we have spent our lives avoiding. But when you finally snip the anchor, you do not actually have to swim any harder.
The buoyancy just takes over.
The natural biological buoyancy of your system simply takes over, and you effortlessly float up to a higher floor.
Okay, this brings us to a really critical juncture. This is the part where I think 99% of people, myself included, hit a wall and get completely frustrated.
The lag time.
Yes. Let's say a listener has been doing the work. They are swinging the machete in the jungle. They turned their back on the ugly painting. They are guarding their focus calories. They have snipped a few anchors.
But they're doing everything right.
They feel good. They feel like they are sitting on floor 5, and they look around at their physical life and they say, why is my life still a total mess? I changed my thoughts a month ago. Where is the abundance? Where is the new job? Why am I still dealing with the same irritating coworker?
It is the most common and understandable frustration in this entire process. And this is where the material introduces a fundamental principle called the law of continuity.
The law of continuity.
To understand this, we have to look at the physics of physical reality versus the nature of energetic or cognitive reality. In the realm of thought, change is instantaneous.
Right, you can change your mind in a second.
You can shift a thought or an emotion in a microsecond. But the physical world is constructed of dense, slow-moving matter. It has immense inertia.
It takes time to catch up.
Therefore, your current physical reality, the apartment you are sitting in, the exact balance in your checking account, the state of your relationships, is not a reflection of your thoughts right now. It is an energetic history.
An energetic history. It is like looking at the stars.
Oh, perfect example.
When we see a star shining in the night sky, we are not seeing it as it is right this second. We are seeing the light it emitted thousands or millions of years ago. It took that long for the light to travel through the sheer density of space to reach our retinas.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. Your physical circumstances today are the snapshot of the frequency you were holding months, or perhaps even years ago.
The light of the new thoughts just hasn't arrived yet.
The light of your new thoughts simply has not reached the physical plane yet.
So going back to the infinite office building.
Yeah.
If I was on floor 2, the drama floor, for 5 years, and I finally take the elevator up to floor 5, the abundance floor, I step off the elevator. I cannot just expect the new set to be fully built, the lighting to be perfect, and the actors to be waiting for me with a script.
Exactly. When you arrive on floor 5, you have to hand your old, heavily annotated, messy drama script to the new director.
The new floor 5 director.
The director looks at it and says, okay, I can work with this, but I have to maintain continuity. The director cannot just snap their fingers, blow up the set, and instantaneously replace everything.
Because it wouldn't make sense.
If they did, the movie would stop making narrative sense to the viewer. So the director has to slowly, methodically, write out the old dramatic characters. They have to gradually dismantle the old set pieces and slowly carry in the new props.
And moving furniture takes time.
As the logistical transition takes physical time.
And this transition period, this is where things get really intense. Because the universe moving the furniture out of your life rarely feels calm or peaceful. It usually feels terrifying.
It feels like your life is falling apart.
Let's walk through a concrete, real-life example of this, because I think people misinterpret this phase entirely. Let's say someone decides, I am done with the to-me state. I am done with the drama. I want a life of true purpose, alignment, and abundance.
They've committed to the new floor.
They commit, and then within a month, they get unexpectedly laid off from their steady but miserable job. And not long after, a core group of friends they have had for years suddenly stops calling and ghosts them.
The storm hits.
From their perspective, Their life is not getting better. It feels like an absolute unmitigated disaster. It feels like they are being punished for trying to improve.
It feels like a punishment, because we are socially conditioned to view any form of loss as a failure. But the framework offers a profoundly different reframe for this exact scenario.
How do they reframe it?
This is not a punishment. This is the new director actively clearing the set. You have moved to a frequency of abundance and purpose. You simply cannot bring misaligned elements onto this new floor.
They don't fit through the door.
A deeply mediocre, soul-crushing job cannot exist in the same space as genuine purpose. Relationships built entirely on mutual complaining, gossip, and drama cannot survive on a frequency of joy.
You cannot fit the old, clunky, broken furniture into the sleek new apartment. You have to throw it out first.
Precisely. If you are desperately clinging to a misaligned job because it provides the illusion of safety and a steady paycheck, there is literally no physical or energetic space for the dream job to arrive.
Your hands are full.
Your hands are too full, holding on to the old thing to grasp the new thing. The clearing out process, the layoff, the sudden distance in friendships, the breakdown of old routines is the chaos of the storm. But it is a necessary reconstructive storm.
But the storm is terrifying. When you lose the job, you are not thinking about your energetic space. You are thinking about how to pay rent.
The survival instinct kicks in.
The nervous system goes into overdrive. And this leads to what the documents describe as a tragic trap, the one step forward, one step back syndrome.
Yes. The individual arrives on the new floor, the storm hits, the old set is being rapidly dismantled, and it feels completely unmooring. The chaos terrifies their nervous system.
So what do? They panic. They run back out into the hallway. They aggressively jam their finger on the down elevator button, and they ride it right back to floor 2.
They return to the familiar misery. Because even though floor 2 is filled with drama, fear, and exhaustion, the set is already built.
They know the lines.
They know the lines. They know exactly how the blister from the shoe is going to feel. The predictability of the misery feels safer to the primitive nervous system than the vast, unknown emptiness of the reconstructive storm on floor 5.
That is heartbreaking when you really think about it. They were literally just waiting for the new furniture to arrive. The new job was probably being written into the script.
Just a few scenes away.
But they could not stand the sight of an empty room. So the key, your grit to stay on the new floor.
To ride out the storm.
To sit in the empty room, to let the storm pass and trust that the law of continuity is working, even when the physical evidence has not caught up to the energetic reality.
That is the crux of the transformation. It requires enduring the lag time without losing faith in your internal vision. You have to tolerate the void.
Okay, so let's say we tolerate the void, we survive the storm, we have spent this entire conversation dissecting the to-me state, the victim mode. But what happens when we successfully transition?
We move up.
The material briefly touches on 2 higher states of consciousness that follow. First is the by-me state, and ultimately, the through-me state. I want to make sure we do not gloss over these because they represent the actual destination we're trying to reach. What does the by-me state look like?
The by-me state is the paradigm of the creator. It is a massive evolutionary leap from to me. In the by-me state, you take absolute responsibility for your life.
No more blaming the director.
Exactly. You realize you are holding the machete. You realize you are the one who turns the radio dial. This is where most modern hustle culture and traditional self-empowerment lives.
The Tony Robbins stuff.
You set goals, you visualize, you manage your focus calories, and you make things happen.
It sounds highly effective. You are no longer the victim, you are the driver. But the framework implies there is a ceiling to this, doesn't it?
There's a significant ceiling. The by-me state relies heavily on personal willpower and force. It is the belief that if it is going to be, it is up to me.
White-knuckling it.
While this produces great external results, wealth, success, physical health, it can eventually lead to profound burnout. You are constantly managing the universe.
It's a lot of pressure.
You are constantly forcing the puzzle pieces together. It's an exhausting way to live long-term because it maintains a subtle illusion of separation. You against the world, bending the world to your will.
I know so many people stuck there. High achievers who are incredibly successful on paper, but they are terrified to stop working for even a day because they think the entire spinning plates routine will crash.
They're managing everything.
They have white-knuckled their way to floor 5. So how do we move beyond that? What is the through-me state?
The through-me state is a shift from forcing to flowing. It is the realization that you do not have to micromanage the universe.
What a relief that would be.
In this state, you have snipped the energetic anchors. You have cleaned up your mental diet so thoroughly that your default neural superhighway is one of deep trust.
Trusting the process.
You realize that you are not separate from the intelligence of life. You are a conduit for it.
A conduit. Meaning you are no longer trying to force the river to flow. You are just getting in the boat and letting the current carry you.
Exactly. You still take action, but the action is inspired rather than forced. You operate from a place of deep intuition.
What happens when things go wrong?
When an obstacle arises, say, the coffee spills or the job is lost, you do not fall into victimhood, but you also do not frantically try to force a solution. You ask, what is life trying to move through me right now? What is the broader purpose of this redirect?
Wow.
It is a state of profound surrender and co-creation. The friction of daily existence vanishes.
It stops being a fight and starts being a dance. You are still moving, but the music is leading.
And that is the ultimate destination the texts are guiding us toward.
So let's bring this entire exploration full circle. Let's go right back to the very beginning. The alarm clock is beeping.
Beep, beep, beep.
The bathroom tiles are cold, the coffee is stale, the passive-aggressive email is waiting in the inbox.
That heavy, predictable morning routine. It is not the permanent genre of your life. It is simply the current energetic history playing out on the floor you have habitually occupied.
The old script.
It is the echo of your past thoughts.
It is just a room in the gallery you have spent too much time standing in.
Exactly. And the most profound reflection we can draw from this entire framework is the sheer untapped scale of human potential.
We underestimate ourselves so much.
We are socially conditioned to believe we are merely actors, handed a predetermined script upon birth, tasked only with memorizing lines we did not write, enduring the blisters from shoes we did not choose.
But that's a lie.
But the biological and psychological reality proposed here is that we are the writers, we are the directors, we are fundamentally the architects of the building itself.
We hold the blueprints. We just forgot we had them in our pockets.
We did. But when we consciously make the effort to shift from the passive victimhood of the to-me state, navigate through the taking responsibility hustle of the by-me state, and eventually surrender upward into the intuitive flow of the through-me state, everything changes.
The whole world shifts.
We act as a clear, unanchored conduit for life's natural flow. And when we do that, the blisters finally heal.
I want to leave everyone listening with one final lingering thought, a little provocation to carry with you as you step out your front door today.
I love this.
The next time you feel that familiar hot wave of frustration rising up at an obstacle, maybe it is a spilled coffee on your commute, a delayed train, or a lost opportunity that feels like a massive setback, I want you to pause, just for a microsecond.
You take a breath.
Feel the urge to complain, recognize the urge to scream at the director, and then ask yourself, am I going to stand here and yell at the ugly painting? Or is it finally time to take a deep breath, quietly turn my back, and walk into an entirely different room?